Hello, good people of the Golden Gaming family. It's time for another Tourney preview. And as y'all know, I do this kind of unscripted. I'm really kind of tackling this. We're flying by the seat of our pants here, but basically, I've been to every single big house except the first one, actually. And it really grew and grew and grew every year since then. And I think right around Big House 4, it was kind of when it became super major status, Big House 1, Lovage was the winner. Big House 2, it was Mango and Hbox, but most of the five gods weren't there. Big House 3, Mango wasn't even there, but that was the Return of the King year. Mewtwo King winning it in a spectacular fashion. One of the last tournaments he won with more than two of the other five gods in attendance. That was Big House 3. And then from Big House 4 onwards, Leffen was there, Armada was there. And then it was really like, okay, this is one of the big tourneys in the community now. It was the first super major, quote unquote, that me and Scar got invited to do top 8. Scar wasn't going to go to this tournament. He was, he's kind of been inactive. He's been on dad duties and he was going to skip, but Jungle Guy hit him up and basically said, look, man, I want you and Toph, like you guys do every top 8. I just feel like it's right for the big house. And that was really cool of Jungle Guy. And so basically we were able to sucker Scar in. So Scar is going to be there. We will be commentating at least some part of the top 8. This is the Big House 10, and this is a little bit annoying because it's not really sorted in order of seed. When I say everyone's there, I mean it. Hungrybox, he's at the Big House 10. Leffen, Mango, we've got Zan, Axe, Plup is in attendance, Amsa's in attendance, S2J's been hot lately, none. Here's Cody. IBDW has been skipping out on a bunch of tournaments because of health issues, but he's back in action. He sorted those out. We got Moki, and you might be wondering, well, okay, just about the only top player who doesn't seem to be attending is Jmook. No, that's actually a lie. Jmook is somewhere on, I think, page 3 or 4. Jmook is in here somewhere. Pipsqueak's gonna be there. Callball's gonna do his annual tournament that he goes to where he overperforms his seed. All right, I'm just gonna search him up. This is too difficult. Jmook. There he is. Zane, Mango, Hbox, Leffen, Plup, IBW, Amsa, Jmook. And that could be the top 8. And it's just 8 people who are all basically able to win a major. I would say that the one person who I think could shake this up is our friend Wizro, but I don't see Wizzy on the attendees list. Wizzy has been going to very few tournaments lately. I'm not sure what's up with him. I know he went to Smash Factor, so Wizzy looks good. It's just that he just doesn't seem to be going to every single tournament. But this tournament is going to be monstrous. I think this is going to be the most prestigious tournament we've seen in a while, and it will probably be the most prestigious tournament until arguably the Ludwig Invitational. And there's an interesting question there. Ludwig Invitational will probably have more money behind it. On the flip side, Big House, a lot more legacy, a lot more history. For me, that's actually something I'm kind of interested in, is how the community perceives the relative prestige of those tournaments. Because we've had tournaments in the past, like Battle of the Five Gods, and that was a tournament that was put on by Twitch that had everybody, at the time. It had all 5 gods. It was an invitational with 20 players, and it was an insane tournament, but people didn't, just because it was the first of its kind, it didn't have that level of history and legacy to it the way a Genesis or a Big House or an Evo did. People didn't look at winning that one as quite the same as winning one of these. So let's get into what I think is going to happen in the bracket. So we're recording this a couple weeks out. We don't have the seeding list. We don't know how these players are going to be seeded. I think it is sort of tough to seed a lot of these players right now because you've got players like IBDW. IBDW won the last tournament he went to, which was Phantom in Australia. Okay, do you make him the 1 seed? He did beat Zane twice. Beat Mango. On the flip side, you've got Leffen, who won Battle of BC, beating Zane twice. So which of those two should be a higher seed? They haven't been at the same event pretty much all year. And then you've got Zane, who's been performing, I would say mostly very well, except for a couple rough spots when it comes to like certain matchups. So there's always this question about who's going to be seeded where. So it's tough for me to predict the actual bracket. I don't really know how I would seed this thing. I'll look at individual top players, okay? And I think something that I'm kind of predicting going to this thing is I think this is going to be a tournament where, so Zan, at the last tournament he went to, Riptide, if I believe, he got not top 3. Hungrybox won Riptide. Hungrybox. I think Zan is the kind of guy where I feel like he's a Batman figure. And what I mean by that is I feel like he needs prep time. Everyone says, Batman, he's going to lose to Superman if it's just like, hey man, fuck you, let's fight. It's like, oh, Batman's going to lose that. But if he's got prep time, he's going to get the kryptonite, and he's going to win that fight, right? He's going to bring Superman down to his level, then he's going to get him with the Batarang or something. I don't know. I feel like he's the type of player where when he loses to somebody, he does an excellent job of kind of upping his prep game for that player. We've seen this in the past with players like Amsa, Hungrybox, Axe, right? And I think coming off of the loss to, for example, S2J at Riptide, I think he's going to really brush up in the Falcon matchup in particular. I think he's going to brush up in the Sheik matchup and make sure he's like rock solid there. He's tough. It's really tough to get him the same way twice. Like he patches his weaknesses really, really fast. What I think I've observed from Zayn, if anything, is that sometimes some of those weaknesses over time, they flare up again. So he gets really rock solid in the Falcon matchup. He gets to where Wizzy isn't really taking sets off him anymore. But then if he hasn't played it for a while, sometimes, you know, I think it's just one of the struggles of being Marth. Sometimes you run into these matchups like Sheik, like Falcon, like Pikachu, where if you haven't played in a while, you know, you can kind of get got. But I think Zayn's going to be coming into this one ready. I think Jmook is the kind of player as well, where I feel like when I look at him, I'm a lot less worried about him in the matchups he's bad at. He's shown, like at Shine, he's shown the ability to actually be able to defeat Hungrybox. At least when Hungrybox looks deflated, when Hungrybox looks like he's not playing at his peak. I think Jmook is ready to take his first win over Amsa as well, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think he, if I was Jmook, I would really consider putting a lot of time into that because I think it's a good matchup for him, obviously, Sheik beating Yoshi. But it's the kind of matchup that you do need to really rehearse the chain grab percents. You got to rehearse the neutral. The neutral's wonky. Which moves you're allowed to throw out when. That's wonky. But he seems like that kind of player. And now that he's a full-time smasher, he's not working at Starbucks. Like, Jmook is going to continue to look better and better in his weak matchups. That's kind of how I feel. And I know Riptide was a H-Box win there, but I think those two could actually potentially start trading sets. Hungrybox is going to come into this one. He's always looked good at the big house. I feel like H-Box, there's this really interesting question for H-Box, which is like, okay, Shine, he looked kind of deflated, didn't look like he was playing his best, kind of had an underwhelming performance. Riptide looked really good, won the event. But now it's Big House and Leffen and Cody are going to be there. And I think the tough thing for H-Box is those two in particular, I think are really tough for Hungrybox. It feels like those two basically can beat H-Box like 4 out of 5 times. And so for H-Box, yeah, you won Riptide, but the Foxes weren't there. Now you got to do it, and Leffen and Cody are there. And so again, I haven't seen the seeding. I don't know what the seeding is going to be like for this thing. But depending on who runs into H-Box in semis or even in quarters, this could be a tough tournament for H-Box. And what I've always observed with Hungrybox is he's got a rock solid mentality until he doesn't. And sometimes he goes to losers early, and when he goes to losers early, sometimes it feels like he kind of runs out of steam. We kind of saw this at Shine. This has happened a couple times over the years. I remember that tournament, Optic Arena. I think it was Optic Arena where Wizzy basically sent him to losers. And obviously everyone has an easier time winning a tournament if they're coming from winners because you have 2 sets to play with. But certain players, I think, do better when they're like disproportionately better when they're coming from winners versus when they're coming from losers. I think H-Box is one of those. I think Zayn's kind of one of those too, for what it's worth. So, you know, which is why Mango always rags on him and says, you know, you can't do it like me. You can't make losers runs like me. Mango to me is the big question mark. Man, I was watching one of my old interviews someone did of me at Apex 2014. I feel like Mango plays his best when he doesn't have the expectations on him. When he's been doing really well, that's when he busters out. And when he hasn't been doing that well, that's when he shows up. And so I actually think for Mango, like, I actually kind of think he's due. You know, like he's, you know, he's been hit or miss. There have been some hits for sure. Mango winning a major. How Mango won? SmashCon. Yes, thank you. I think it's really, really tough to predict how Mango's going to do. And this is something we sign up for when we, you know, when we sign the contract to be part of the Mango Nation. You accept that there's going to be some low lows, but there's going to be some high highs. Now, that being said, I feel like if I'm reading my astronomical sign chart, I feel like everything is in alignment for this to be a Mango tournament. I am really hoping for a Mango Zayn run back for finals. I think that'd be so hype. If it was like Big House 9 all over again, Mango and Zayn. My brain tells me it's going to be like Cody and Leffen in finals. To be perfectly honest with you, those two look cracked. But my heart says Mango Zayn. That's going to be I guess my hot take is I think this is going to be a Mango tournament. I think Mango's going to turn some heads, and I think people are just about to where they're sleeping on the kid again, and I think that is the perfect storm. That is the recipe for a Mango, like a stellar Mango performance. So my hot take this tournament is I think this might be a Mango Big House. I don't know if that means he's going to win the whole event, but I think he's going to take out 2 or 3 names that people are shocked by. Maybe not shocked. Shocked is the wrong word, but people are impressed by. You know, Mango's going to give us a reminder. That's my hot take this time. I think this is going to be a Mango tournament, and he's always done well with the Big House. He's won several of them, 2, 4, 6, and 9. I don't really know how this kind of thing works for certain top players. There's this element of like, it's funny because only the top players really talk about it. You know, Mango used to always talk about, he's like, I never play good at Summit, but I play really good at Big House and, you know, blah, blah, blah. On the flip side, you know, Armada won the first 4 Smash Summits. There's always this element of like, certain top players seem to do well at particular venues even, or tournament series. I don't really know why this is the case, but it seems to be a thing. So it's going to give me a little bit of confidence in my Mango pick here. Leffen to me, I will say Leffen to me is the guy that I feel like if he is the closest to this guy might just get ranked number 1 at the end of the year. Like if I had to pick one person where I had to put like $1,000 on who do I think is going to be number 1 at the end of the year, I kind of feel like it's just going to be Leffen. And I think part of it is that I don't feel like he has matchup holes. I feel like everybody else has at least one matchup or player that they're not going to do that well against. Maybe you could argue that Cody has kind of gotten over that. Cody now seems to do really well versus Zayn, even though it is Fox Marth. So maybe it's actually Cody that's the surest bet, but I feel like with Leffen, like with his sheep pick for Zayn, I know he lost to Cody the last time they Foxed it, but I don't really think that, like, I can't make any predictions there. I feel like both those guys could beat each other. They're both really good at the matchup. To me, I feel like Leffen's in a really good spot. I think Cody is too. I think the only question for Cody is like taking all this time off for health. How's he going to bounce back? But that's kind of where my head's at. Like I'm really scared of those guys, but I'm pulling for Mango Zayn Grand Finals, and I think that Mango could do it. If I'm going to make some predictions about, you know, a little bit lower in the bracket, like how I think some other people are going to do, like if I have like one dark horse or one sleeper pick for somebody who people who aren't necessarily going to win the tournament, but they might have some like kind of wild performances. Call Ball is somebody to look out for. Call Ball basically goes to one tournament a year and always overperforms. People always forget how good that guy is. I think Call Ball could definitely take some names, beat some PGR players. I think somebody else who I noticed is actually going to this thing that a lot of people forget about frequently is Franz. SoCal Dr. Mario. That guy's a beast. That guy has had some crazy performances in SoCal at you know, pretty stacked locals. SoCal being one of the regions where you can say pretty stacked locals and people take you seriously. And I think characters like Dr. Mario, man, if you travel, you're going to see results because, like, people do not know how to fight that character anymore. And that character hits like a truck, too. I've seen friends, like, when he's playing hot, he looks like a genius. So he's going to be my dark horse sleeper pick for, like, that guy might, like, legitimately be in, like, top 16. In terms of doubles, me and Zeke are taking the whole event. Me and my boy Zeke are teaming. Your team is right here, Toph and Indy. Look out for Toph and Indy. Definitely going to get out of pools and probably make it at least a little bit further than that. So it's going to be hype. Haven't played doubles in a while in tournament. I feel like doubles is taking a little bit of a back burner at some of these majors because TOs are starting to run them on Fridays more. You know, all this stuff. Was Crimson Blur right? Should we put doubles later in the event, you know, for top 8 and give it a little bit more of a spotlight? Well, maybe. Me and Zeke are going to make an argument for that with our gameplay at this event. But yeah, that's kind of my predictions and my overview of the Big House. I think the cool thing about this tournament is that it is the start of what I think is going to be remembered as like almost an Autumn of Smash kind of situation. There's some crazy tournaments coming up. Smash Summit's coming up at some point, I think in November, December. Main stage after that. So there's going to be, you know, no lack of really amazing Super Smash Bros. Melee for weekends to come. And, you know, having talked to Juggle Guy about this particular instance of the Big House, he said that there have been ups and downs. As a tournament organizer, there are ups and downs. There are tournaments where you run a major, you run your major, and you feel like, oh man, you know, I didn't hit the numbers I wanted. I'm just less confident this time around. And then there's times where you're, you know, you're crushing it. For some reason, a lot of people are signing up early, and you're like, you're able to really plan and budget like a lot of really fun stuff. And for some reason, Joe Guy was saying that he is like the most confident he's ever been that the Big House 10 is going to be an amazing tournament. So that's really cool to hear. Time will tell. Like, we'll see what that looks like. Hope to see many of you at the event, and I hope to see many of you more in Twitch chat on October 7th through 9th. Of course, on whatever channel, probably BTS Smash. It could be on any number of Twitch channels, but should be a really, really fun watch. So be there, be square. Okay, how's that?